Hi, and welcome to the real number 10 segment of my tell all testimony of the Secret Space program. My name is Teah, and this is my hubby, David. Um,
Sure.
we've been married now for 17 years, this upcoming July, I think.
Seems to be,
Yeah, 17?
yeah,
Going
18.
on
Yeah,
18, going on
18.
18
It'll be
years.
18 years.
Yeah. And today's date is June 7th, and
2020.
the topic of today's video is the beginning of the, sorry, the light's kind of funky here, is the beginning of the Secret Space program and my memories related to that, which is some funky timeline stuff. Um, and so, yeah, the beginning of the Breakaway is today's segment. But before we get into the main segment, we're going to do our first thoughts. We're actually trying to come up here with a real format here for all this stuff. Um, and so, David.
Thank you. So initially, the videos were about me interviewing Tia, and I still am, and keep
Right.
things online and all that. And um, also, by the way, that's our dog Leia in the back.
Mm.
So she's kind of being quiet, looking around.
Yeah, that's
Another
good.
weird, beautiful, incredible day. I know I was talking about the weather, so I'll keep
Mhm.
it really quick. But we just went through like a rain, snow, ice storm
Yeah, it was pretty
through
weird.
the mountains, just going for a drive, and it was incredible.
Yeah,
So, I
it,
mean,
it
it
was.
is like,
It's like
yeah. So, just a couple things I want to talk
trying to.
about.
I'm all washed
A couple things I want to talk about real quick is that I didn't hear one single mention, zero. Yesterday was D-Day, and it made me want to throw up. I mean, nothing. You know, I look on Google and they always will show everything else, which is fine, and monument all every other thing in the whole world, which is awesome, you know, whatever, float your boat, but not even a thank you, nothing, not even a, a ship, not even a hole through a fence. Just
out.
pissed me off to no end. So I am doing my personal remembrance of D-Day. If you don't even know what D-Day is, God bless you, not really, and go figure it out and look it up because the people who had to go through that, you don't it's what almost a lot of this is all about in many
Yeah. Oh
ways.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And we're going through our own D-Day. Hey,
That's for. That's for damn sure.
cute little girl down there on the. Leah sees everything. So, anyways, this is my anyway. So D-Day, D-Day. Anyways, this is the day after D-Day. The other thing I want to say is, holy crap! If you go out to eat and you think something is even slightly bad, take it back, demand your money back. When I'm talking about spoiled or deep fried in oil, that ask them how long the oil they've been using when they shouldn't even eat that anyways. But we ate something a week ago,
Yeah.
Friday, and I knew it was spoiled, but I wasn't really sure. And we broke all the rules by going out because we never want to go out, and we cook our own meals and be very very careful. And I went through 1 week, I call it here hell week of food poisoning, and Tia
Yeah.
thought I was gonna die.
I really did. I
Yeah,
thought
she
he
was
was gonna
crying, and I'm
die.
like, why are you crying?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It was really bad.
it was so bad that I would never go to hospital, even though in a past life I was a paramedic and you're supposed to, no way. And I felt if I went in, I wouldn't come out. So that's how much I trust the hospital. But
Yeah.
we know how to deal with our own health. But talk about separating your mind matter and power and your immune. And I can't even
It was
tell
so
you,
bad.
today's the first moment. It's been 8 days, 9 days, and that I'm feeling normal. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
and I can kick back on anything. So that's
Mhm.
my resilience. It's like a monster, but
Mhm.
even the mighty had fallen for a week. So let me tell you, if you taste something or you go out and it seems a little spoiled, people are trying to save money in these restaurants or whatever it is, be really, really careful. Don't eat it, take it back, throw it away, whatever. It's not worth it. You can die. So I almost died. I I did die inside actually. Okay. So that's, and then my last thing here is, yeah, it really put, and you could put your partner through hell.
Well, it triggered me a lot. It triggered.
Yeah, there's so much more
I
to
just,
it. And not to get into conspiracy, but I mean, people are being directed with through things too, you know.
Oh yeah.
Even part of my mind. I mean, I went so many places. I
Mhm.
thought, did they put radiation? Would you know when Savage would say a radiation? They gave this one guy a sandwich with radioactive material in it. I forgot who that was, some scientist or something. And I'm just like, you never know. I thought I was glowing there for a minute. Actually, I was. The dehydration was unbelievable. So, forewarned is forewarned.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay, cool.
nah, I'm not done.
Oh.
So just the last thing
Okay.
is I just the other just we're driving and I know it seems forever when you're sitting here having to listen to the other person.
No, I'm cool.
Really? Really? Oh, good. Cool. You're not cool. Okay,
Of
so
course I am.
so just a return to normalcy, and that's what I put. Is that even a word? But I saw a guy walking his dog. He's not wearing a face diaper, and he's staring at his fucking his cell phone. And I went, God bless. You know, I used to hate that so much. It's the things you hate and then you crave it. It's like just
Right.
somebody being the same ding dong that they should be, you know, and it's like, it made me feel good. Okay, so that was
Okay.
that. So we're seeing a lot of stuff. Other than what's going on in the world, let's not even talk about that crap right now.
Yeah.
And true facts of what's really the facts of life, of death, of what people are really doing to each other. Come on. If you can't think of it on your own, I'm not going to do it for you. So, okay, let's get into what's really.
Well, David gave me permission to talk about this, but
So we'll go.
so I just and I wanted to touch on it real briefly, but kids over there.
It's a gaggle of girls.
No.
Nothing wrong with that.
But anyway,
Teenagers.
So you know, I'm almost 40 years old, and part of part of me, because I have come really close to
Lay down.
putting all the pieces together about my life and being in the Secret
Down.
States program.
Down.
I figure at least a couple of
Lay down.
times.
Lay down.
But there's
Down.
been a couple of things
Down.
that have been roadblocks.
Down.
And
Good
one
girl,
of
sweetheart.
them is that I've had a lot of memories with David in them. And putting all the pieces together, we've learned that David was also in the secret space program. I've been filtering my comments to make sure that I don't include him because we weren't sure when would be the right time to talk about that. But David does have his own memories, and at first I was telling him that he was in the program, and then he's been opening up more and more, especially this past year. And so and so David was with me on Mars, and I think that's actually one reason why we're together, is because he's very familiar to me. And there's actually, if you look at some aspects of our relationship is very atypical. And a lot of people told me when I started dating him to not date him because of some of those atypical aspects. But we fit great together, as people. So
Can I say a couple things?
yeah.
So a few things. One, we're probably hitting, believe it or not, because some people said that this is in depth or whatever. This is like 1%.
Yeah.
So let me just get that straight
Mhm.
of what we may or may not tell.
Mhm.
Another thing is just a weird thing is numerology. T and I have 5 numbers that are match.
Mhm.
That's insane. Okay,
Yeah.
so there's so many things, but let's
Mhm.
okay. That's just one little tiny thing.
Mhm.
Numerology is numerology.
Yeah.
That I told Tia a long time ago that for a moment, I don't know how to even explain, and I'm sure a lot of you who watch this or in these other groups or, but sometimes we'll have, it's not even a splinter of a thought,
Mhm.
but where you're not here.
Mhm.
You're literally somewhere else. And one of the first ones, though I've had dreams and all this my whole life, and a lot of people have, some people haven't. We could talk about dream problems and all that later,
Yeah, sure.
but is that I had this thought, no, dream, no, splinter, no. It's almost like a sliver.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like, it's like the mortar between the bricks. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in another city
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I wasn't on this planet. And
Mm-hmm.
I was walking, I'm like, where am I?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of it happens at, and a lot of people may attest to this,
Mm-hmm.
at the lucid dreaming time. Between the time but here's the weird thing, I'm not even sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you're
Well,
taken away, or
yeah.
when those things happen,
Mm-hmm.
I can still see that being in that other place, other than all the dreams I could write. I wish I
Right.
could take my dreams and funnel it into like a, computer, and then it shows, like a sci-fi movie.
Right.
And because there, a lot of us can. I wish we could do that, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
especially me. Holy crap!
Mm-hmm.
If there's anybody a dreamer, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
But that splinter moment, which I have a lot,
Yeah.
can't explain it. It's
Mm-hmm.
an other dimensional split, and it doesn't even have to be. There's not even. You can almost say there's like no time. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
measuring light or something where there's no weight. It's there,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so not there,
Mm-hmm.
or it's pulled back so fast
Mm-hmm.
through the manipulation. I don't even know. See, nobody would know. I mean, how do we really know?
Mm-hmm.
But I was somewhere else, and I'm like, what was that?
Yeah.
And it's amazing that I was actually able to remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't anything bad. It was like these cities and
Mm-hmm.
big buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and I was walking, and I felt really good, and just like almost like there's nothing wrong. Like if you had
Mm-hmm.
a, the technology where your health is perfect,
Yeah.
and that's how I felt, and I have
Mm-hmm.
lots, so it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, where was that?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa! And so, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just one tiny little thing of all the things, so
Mm-hmm.
that I
Yeah.
can tell you.
Mm.
And so I'm saying it more of the process,
Right.
to understand the process
Mm-hmm.
of that splinter,
Yeah.
where it's so fast
Mm-hmm.
that it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like a flake of snow that comes down and it's gone, or I don't even know how to say, or
Mm-hmm.
like a sliver of it's almost like something clear.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So it's not there, but it's there. So it's like
Yeah.
substance of non-substance
Mm-hmm.
of this memory splinter
Mm-hmm. Right.
splinter thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you put words to?
Well,
Anyways, okay, so I took up a
I
lot of
call that
time.
like a fragment, but
Fragment's good. It's
mm-hmm.
a holographic. It's
Because
easily, you could easily call it a holographic fragment.
it really is like
That's a good one.
a puzzle.
Actually, I kind of pulled it together. I like that.
That's how and sometimes you get like these big pieces, and then sometimes those pieces might fit with other pieces, but then sometimes you get these just little tiny little fragments, and it's just I get those all the time.
Do you?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's almost like a chip.
Yeah.
That's a word that just came to me.
Hmm.
Like a chip that you lay in, like a diode or a chip into a computer.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's just this.
Yeah.
That's as far as I can go. Okay. Anyways.
Anyway, so this is going to be kind of a weird one because it's talking a lot about timeline stuff, and um, part of the thing that's really good about this vlog is it's given me the opportunity to try and explain some of this stuff, and so it's given me practice. So this is one of my first attempts
Sorry.
at talking about the mind and timelines and stuff like that and how they all interrelate. But um, so, and I mentioned in one of the previous videos how essentially, from what I understand and what I've been able to kind of put together, is that every person's really in their own timeline. And that has to do with kind of the fractal nature of life, that, we're always in a different place in the fractal, and that it just keeps going and going and going, but that every place that you're at is a completely new perspective. And that's kind of, I think, one of the beauties of life is that the place that you're in right now, you can see things that you can only see from where you're at. Um, and so, like, for me, I've had a lot of grief about, like, the person that I was, and losing a lot of my information and knowledge and blah, 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 blah. you know, I've been stripped and all this stuff. And that's kind of one of the things that I remind myself is that this person that I am now and where I'm at now, um, that regardless of who I was, that I can only see certain things that that person never could have seen, you know. So anyway, so um, but the thing about timelines and every person really being in their own timeline, and from what I remember, like about some of the spiritual laws, is that there's some sort of law that says that um, that people can't affect your life in any way unless you authorize them to do that. Authorize does not mean acceptance. Okay, so that's, it doesn't mean, or I should say, it doesn't mean approval. It doesn't mean that you think it's okay, but you might authorize somebody to affect you in a negative or evil kind of a way for for a reason. Not necessarily even for personal growth, but just so that you could do something good here on earth amidst all of this evilness and badness. Um, and so, so there's all this weird kind of stuff occurring in every person's life where they're accepting and maybe not accepting certain aspects of the reality. And not only that, but that every person is projecting a future. And this is kind of a weird thing, but that futures have the ability, they have the authorization to come into the past and ensure that they are created. And I know that sounds super super duper weird, but that in many respects we're all living in this kind of weird time loop, um, or that there are all these different time loops occurring where different types of futures are actually here in the present to try and create themselves. And so that's the weird thing about existence and things occurring all at the same time. And um, but that it really is a real thing that if you can be a person projecting a healthy future and a good future, you really are creating that future. And then depending on the strength of your signal and your intent and your emotions, it it can have a really positive impact or even or less of an impact on the present. And I remember that's called an anchor, that every person here on earth is an anchor for some sort of future, and that if you actually pull your consciousnesses together, you create a stronger signal to make a stronger pathway for a healthier future to come and benefit humanity. So anyway, so that's super weird stuff there. Um, and the where I so when I was
It's not
doing,
that weird because I mean
yeah,
it's Terminator story
yeah,
in
yeah,
its own way. Okay,
yeah, sure.
just
So that kind of stuff is happening right now, and so we really are in a temporal war, and it really is a war of good and evil. It really is. Um, and so uh, so when I was doing some research, okay, on so I did find out the people that the early German people that triggered me big time. They're called the Volkisch, Volkisch, and they're really strong Nazi ties or nugget ties to that. And there were three German painters that really triggered me in a massive way. Probably the biggest one is Karl Wilhelm Diefenbach. Okay, and he has some really fancy or fantastical paintings. And when I was looking at those, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been there. Those are real places. And he even has some paintings of the Sphinx, and you can see the background. A lot of times it's not very clear, but the background that those sphinxes are in, to me, does not look like Egypt. And so, so that's when a lot of this stuff started coming in. Another one is Ludwig Fahrenkrog. Okay, and then and he, I
hold
believe,
on,
was a pagan.
hold on, honey. So it's Fahrenkrog,
Hmm.
and the first one is Karl Wilhelm. There was Wilhelm in the middle. Die, D-I-E, last name Diefenbach, and Bach. B-A-C-H, as you know, our famous
Yeah.
musician. So, in case these people aren't
okay, and then Fidus. Okay,
Fidus.
and the thing about Fidus that
The
really
formerly known
triggered
as
me is that I think he's really painting a lot of rituals. Okay, that these jerks are doing. All right, but anyways,
Fidus.
yeah. But the Diefenbach, okay, and so he has a lot of these pictures of sort of like God talking to man, and what these pictures triggered in me was the memories that the future, okay, a future timeline of the Nuggets came to the Volkisch people and basically instructed them in their ways of all this weird pagan and symbolism and all that stuff that I talked about in the last video that actually I will be publishing here on the 12th, which I think is this Friday. Um, and I'm getting really close to being able to publish on like a weekly basis, and I think that things are going well when I'm that we're doing this. We're kind of getting in a groove here, but anyways, um, and so that and so because they can project things in the sky and all that stuff, and so that somewhere a timeline of these kind of negative nugget people came to the Volkisch and manipulated them into a lot of this weird stuff. And not only that, but you'll see that with some of these paintings, and I think it might be more the Ludwig Fahrenkrog, but when these guys are painting mountains, you guys got to realize that more often than not, that's a disclosure of ancient builder stuff, and that these mountains are really ancient pyramids. And I do believe that the Volkisch, okay, which is very connected to the Ural society, that they actually found ancient builder tech, and I think that's where a lot of this stuff happened. That they're up there in the mountains and they happened to come upon it, or they were led to it. Okay, and that's actually where I have these two really funky memories. Okay, and so this is going to be a fun one.
Hold on. So, honey,
Mm,
so these people, are they from Austria
no,
or
they're German.
Norway?
They're all German.
Okay, they're
Hmm.
German. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
and
And we see a lot of the pictures are well, life was that way anyways. Was
Agrarian.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, is
Hmm.
agriculture because
Hmm.
there
Right.
wasn't stores or Safeway or some
Right.
place to go, but
Right.
was not down. I mean,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
so
But these people were pagans, from what I understand, and granted, I'm not an expert. Okay, so
sure,
I might
sure,
say
yeah.
something that's wrong. Um,
Well, that's the thing. You got to look at.
right. Well, the thing
Go as
is,
far as you want to look.
here I am giving information without really doing a lot of research
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm really speaking from memory, which take it for whatever you want.
There you
But
go. Yeah.
um, so anyway,
But still, I've never seen any of this. Or when he
yeah,
started showing those pictures,
yeah.
I was like,
Hmm.
you start relating to something that you would
Hmm.
never think you would relate to
Yeah.
or memorize or
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
almost become
Hmm.
fixated on it.
Right.
So
Right.
if you find some of these videos, are you gonna link any of these
Yeah, I'm
videos?
gonna link all of the videos that I've there's some good
There's
ones.
like this
Okay.
beautiful music and then just these paintings.
Yeah.
You're just going, whoa,
Yeah.
it'll take you
Hmm.
on a ride.
Yeah.
Okay, darling. So
So and this is a really weird thing, you guys, and I'm like, part of me is like, maybe I shouldn't even say this, but I
lay it.
do believe, and how about this? I won't say the painter, but I believe one of these painters might actually be Hitler. Okay, now I haven't talked a lot about the DNA manipulation. Okay, but they have the technology to change your body, and not just make it different human, but they can make it different species, right? And that's where a lot of this crap comes into play with the Draco and lizard people and blah 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 blah. Okay, so a lot of human beings, in particular American soldiers, have been changed into other species. Okay, now um, I have a memory that one of these guys actually is Hitler. That the guy finally did learn how to paint.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
Did he have his blue contacts on or his brown ones? You guys know what I'm talking about, the Mandela, because that's an effed up one.
Yeah, I come from a timeline where Hitler had brown eyes, but now he has blue eyes. So, anyways.
Yeah. No. That was the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That he was not looking like the super race.
Right.
That was like kind of the what drove him.
Yeah.
And so Bolshevik.
Yeah. Okay.
Now he has blue eyes.
Yeah.
So all right, you guys run with that one.
And he wasn't poor. I remember he was poor, and he was this artist that couldn't make it.
Yeah, of course.
He came from a poor family, and now he's a member of the elite. Okay. So, anyways, weird stuff there. Okay. So this memory is what I believe was the first contact that the Volkisch people had, or the Germans, whatever. It's because there are a subgroup of Germans. I'm actually part German. Okay, so I don't hate German people. I love myself. I love my family. I love my German settlers that came over here from Germany. Blah 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 blah. Okay, but the Volkisch people.
What happens to certain races or certain it just happens. That's
Yeah.
what happens. It just happens.
Right.
People want to blame everything on everything, and there's a reason. It's like maybe there's no reason.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened there, or happened for a reason.
Right.
So we don't know.
Right.
So yeah, come on, that's ridiculous.
Okay. So I am with my American handler, okay, who is a key figure in a lot of my memories, and I'm with probably 5 other teams, okay. And here, let me draw a little. I don't know. The lighting on this is so kind of weird but
it's okay.
Mountain, alien, Okay. So here's the mountain. It's all snowy. This is like a big open field. Here's the alien dude. Okay. And then there's like an orchestrator. Let's call him the conductor. And then there's teams of an empath, an intuitive telepathic empath with their handler. Okay. Now, I'm like over here. All right. So the thing about this, okay, is that because the Nuggets have time travel technology, they're always trying to improve key events in their history to create the best reality. Okay, and that's something that's constantly happening. The Americans have that too. We're always doing that. And so they had their first contact experience, but then they go back in time to try and create a better experience for themselves. And so I'm one of the teams that so they have all these teams of telepaths with their handler who is going to then go do a deal with the alien. Okay. And I remember standing there and watching the orchestrator dude, this dude who it's really a team of dealers. Okay. And they have their, their pads where they're looking at them, and they're basically getting intel from other timelines about the deals that were made. Okay, so this person negotiated this with the alien, and this person negotiated B with the alien, and this person negotiated C with the alien, and this person negotiated D with the alien, right? And so they're getting all this intel on their little doohickeys, and we're all just waiting for my turn to come up, and then at which point then we experience the person that they actually want to keep, right? So I remember waiting. They're looking at their little pad. Here's the alien dude waiting. And then eventually I get called, I get cued, and I go talk to the alien. And I do believe that like I was the best one, which is hard for me to say because I have all of these memories where I'm influencing and strengthening, this side, and of course I believe that I was doing the interface as an American at that particular time because of the weird American nugget relationship that we had. And so I was not actually a space Nazi or space nugget at that in this particular memory. I was an American. I think I was wearing the threads though. I think I was wearing their uniform, which is kind of weird. But anyways, but I remember, okay, that I am talking to what people call let's call them the tall white, okay, whatever. Um, they are big, very muscular. They have long white hair, like Nelson, the band, and they're wearing black and white togas. Okay, and I know that sounds super weird. And not only this, but they have these weird black kind of shadow spirit beings around them, like circling around them. And when I'm interfacing with them, I'm realizing as I'm watching them that they're really more of like a multi-organism. Because there's actually multiple intelligences in this person, um, and that these black kind of spirit things actually live on or in this person. And I remember they loathe human beings. They like loathe us. Like they hate us.
Where are they
Like
from?
we're bottom of the barrel.
Where are
So
they from?
so and I don't know if this is right, okay, but what I remember
Don't worry about that.
is that the Nuggets encountered them that because they were trying to drill through the Ural Mountains, and that these alien species were actually watching us, right? Because they are always trying to manipulate us, but they were watching us. They're watching the Nuggets, and that they actually, in the end, did make contact with them by doing drilling. And when I first had this memory, I went, did the Nazis actually try and drill through the Ural Mountains? And sorry, I said the word again.
That's
But
3.
I'm sorry, but
We have a little tip.
and I think it's something that is actually it's debatable. Some people think they did, some people think they didn't. Blah 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 blah. Okay, and so but I remember actually when this memory first came through, I did remember a little bit about the deal. Um, and so I do believe that these aliens, they're part of the syndicate, and they're always looking because of the spiritual laws. Is that technically a person cannot really affect a species unless they're a part of that species. So these people are doing a lot of this weird influencing of humanity, but they needed a human group to go and do all this horrible stuff. Um, and so that ended up being the Nuggets. Okay. And I remember when I did the deal, I remember thinking that this was not a good deal. There was some technology involved. They were promised that if they do a good job, that they'll be elevated in the society, the syndicate society. Um, but it really wasn't much, hardly at all. Um, the Nuggets basically agreed to be peons. I remember thinking that, like, you guys are gonna do this stuff, And I should have wrote it down, but I had this memory like a couple years ago. But I remember going, this is the best deal. What did these other people negotiate? Because this is crappy. But they basically won the ability to try and prove themselves in this society. And what I really do believe is that the Nuggets, as a member of the society, they and this is something I've seen, as part of all of this, is that they believe that they are going to get back what has been lost and taken from us, which is our ancient builder race heritage. and that they are actually in the process of trying to reclaim that. And so, and I think that's really what these weird beings with the togas, the black and white togas, really promised them. That's like the biggest thing that I really remember from that. And so, in my mind, from what I have remembered up to this point, I believe that to be the beginning, um, the real beginning of the war, I guess you could say. And or at least how the Nuggets established themselves with the aliens. Um, now I have another memory where I am once again an American amongst their military force. Okay, and this I believe is also on Centurion, and you were actually David in this memory. And it's a quite a long series of memories of all sorts of different weird experiments and how they divided up the impasse from the soldiers and weird stuff like they associate colors. We have different. I think this is actually like our souls have different colors, and that the empath soldiers actually have blue and red souls. Anyway, so there's weird stuff to that, but in this particular memory, and we're already almost at like 40 minutes with this, so I'm actually going to really cut this down. But I remember, because like I've said before, I was always either trying to escape or I was trying to get help when I was American working with the Nuggets. And in this particular series, I believe I've been captured by the Nuggets, forced to work in their military, and I think that the Americans don't know. And I'm on Centurion. I'm pretty certain it's Centurion. And this whole memory like involves this really weird like metal Christmas tree, and there's a weird ceremony with Hitler and some weird stuff. Okay, so anyways, but um, this one particular memory, I am trying to get a message to Earth, and I figure out a way to do it where I think I'm not going to be caught, and I actually do send the message to Earth, but then I am caught, and this one nugget that catches me, he's laughing and laughing and laughing at me, and he's like, "You think they don't know? Oh, they know." And I so at that particular point, he starts talking to me about timelines, and he's like, "We almost got everything exactly how we want it," and I'm swearing at him and all of this stuff, and I'm trying to kick him, and I'm being, subdued and all this stuff. But what came through as part of all of this is that that the Nuggets could not win in an overt war. They could not win in a clear-cut, surface, in-your-face war. So they had to take everything in a covert way, and that's what they did. And that's everything that we're seeing here with the Cabal, the Kaka, as I call them, and all the weird crap that's happening right now. So, um, is that all of these are war tactics? Everything that we're experiencing, all the psyop stuff, the really bad infiltration in the military government, nobody's pieced together. You know, we call it the deep stink, and we call it there's another term that they're calling it. I don't remember what. No, yeah, but like within the government, and what people don't realize, you guys, this is the breakaway. Okay, this is a breakaway. It is a consolidated, organized force being used against us. And one side note to all of this is that in my meditations and my subconscious is my subconscious conscious connection is getting stronger and stronger every day. And when I go into a deep meditation and I do a deep dive, as I call it, I actually had a memory that as an ancient builder race civilization, that we were caught and they made us slaves, and we were outright slaves and we knew it, where we're like doing hard labor and things like that. But that in that state we rebelled and we were victorious, and so they created a system to make us think that we're free when we're really not, because that's the only way that we can really stay in chains. So so I just threw a lot out there, and I'm realizing, yeah. So
So you brought in the metal Christmas tree.
yeah, I did. I I don't know if I should go into too much detail,
Why
but
don't you pick up on that next time?
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't have to do it all in one
Yeah,
shot.
or maybe not. I don't know. It's
All right.
just, well, you guys, it's like there's all sorts of weird stuff that I have with like related to Christmas and this particular segment of servitude where I am a soldier and I'm doing training and all sorts of stuff like that, and um, that they were very harsh with everybody who was training except for me, because because they needed me. They needed me real bad for whatever reason, and that's because I was the best, I guess. And so I was always pushing the limit, but people were always mad at me because I was pushing the limit, but I would never really get in trouble. But everybody else had to stay in line and weird stuff like that. But every year for the holiday, there's this metal Christmas tree that we were supposed to bring out, and where it was in storage was across this bay, and they wanted this tree up on this cliff on this bay. And I mean, this thing is just huge, and it was metal, and I was in charge of installing it, and I made the decision to go over the bay um, because it's way shorter that way, and there's this weird helicopter thing where most people, when they would install, they elected to go along the shoreline because it was really windy there, and the thing was known to break free of the net because it was metal, and and so that if it dropped, it would actually drop on land. And for some reason, I thought, oh no, I can do this. It's not going to break the net. And I go over the bay, and sure enough, the net breaks and goes into this bay. And I had this crazy memory of trying to find this freaking metal Christmas tree on the bottom of the bay, and all sorts of weird stuff related to that. So anyways, but that's then, so we had to get the tree up before, Hitler did his grand and I mean, this is actually Hitler, okay, did his grand appearance, and I remember we got it set up like literally hours before he was to arrive, and I remember standing there in a single file with my uniform on, and he wasn't even there for 5 minutes, and we went through this massive search for the Christmas tree. Everybody was pissed off at me because they were supposed to get a couple days off, and nobody got a day off because we had to find it. And I remember thinking right then and there, I could kill him, that's what I'm thinking. But then I also have this thought in knowing that they can resurrect him, so it's like just a total moot, frivolous act that will just get me in trouble. So that's a real short synopsis. But there's like
I remember that story. Yep.
yeah, so that was a really strong one, um and that opened up a whole series of memories of training and being experimented on. And I remember several experiments, one where I could breathe underwater and stuff like that. So anyways, we're at 45 minutes here. Are we gonna wrap this up?
I'm tying it up. Okay. I did have an idea, but I don't want to bring it up out of the left wing, and then you'd have to edit it out or not.
Okay.
And it might offend some people, but it came up. It hit me before you, as you were going through all this.
Mm-hmm.
Then we actually put a question out there.
Oh.
Why the germ? And then
Mm.
and then it came back to me like, why am I focusing on that?
Mm.
So I want to bring it up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can come back and you can say, yeah, I don't want to talk about that, or David hit something again. Because one of the things that I just want to bring up lastly is that how much Teah and I, and just something you guys can think about on your own, that you'll say a word and then that word will come up. This is a timeline thing.
Oh.
All the time, or you'll
Oh.
read it.
Uh-huh.
I just said, like, we were talking about love, and the word love was on a truck, but everything I could say, like an odd word, juxtaposed, and the radio would just say it right away. And yeah, it's been going on for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
So, are are we ahead? And we talked about this before in time. Have we already been there? Deja vu? Are we ahead of? We've come back and then come around and come back, and you already know that you're going to hear that word. Is there something planted where you're in your mind that you already know that word's coming up on the radio and you say it? So, how long has that been going on for? It's insanity. I do it a lot. So do you, but I do it, and it's insane. I mean, you gotta wonder.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so that is how I'm tying into this, and to everything. Is you allow yourself to open your meridians and open your thoughts and open your chakras, and be flexible and psychic and clear your liver. And
That's really important.
yeah, and we can talk about that. People are interested or not. I don't
Yeah.
know, Tia. This is your
We might do
thing.
that more as a rant because it's not really disclosure. And
No, it's
I
not.
want to keep disclosure
I agree. I
separate
agree. Yeah,
from our other knowledge and opinions.
I agree. I agree.
So.
So, but I'm just tying that into so that that came up to me. That's like, why am I keep seeing this even just now? And then we asked this question, and then I'm coming back going, oh, so I'm gonna talk to you about it afterwards.
Okay. Well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
That sounds like interesting, and maybe we'll do what he's thinking.
It's just a little thing.
I made a long list of
Hi,
like
baby.
topics, and somebody on the blog was talking about wanted to know more about what it's like to live in the Breakaway.
Love
So
you.
I'm definitely going to do an interesting segment on that because I have so many memories of living in the Breakaway. So stay tuned, you guys. We got some good stuff coming up. All right, thanks you guys for watching. Appreciate all of your time. And make a comment, say something. Let me know if you want to know horror stuff. I actually have a few questions in the discussion board there. I want to know if you guys want to know any of the really bad stuff I've remembered, because slavery and horrors and brothels and people eaters, that's not horrible. That's where this stuff gets fun. All right, you guys, love you all. Take care. Bye bye. No, it's not doing